I figured there's like 30 something million graphics cards worth of, I think it was RX 580s worth of hashing power on the network. So imagine tens of millions of graphics cards suddenly being sold off.
Wow. So Jason, question to you. Do you think GPUs are ever going to go back to their MSRP price? That's what everyone wants to know.
Yeah, right. Like, let me get my crystal ball out and light my magic candle and kind of peer into the tea leaves here. I think yes, and I think it's actually going to happen sooner rather than later. And from a perspective of that, we've been in this crisis for about a year and a half at this point, right? Maybe even a little bit longer than that, because a lot of people didn't want to build before RTX 3000 and AMD's new 6000 series lineup. We were all telling people, don't build yet, don't build. Remember all the 2080 Ti owners rushed to sell off their 2080 Ti's because they were going to be worthless when the 3000 series was announced. And I'm sure there's a lot of 2080 Ti owners.
Sorry,
like,
just to interrupt you here, because that exactly happened to me. Like I was doing a build and someone sold their 2080 Ti on eBay here for 500 pounds here to get like whatever 3000 series, and I was like, they are insane. So I literally bought it for like 500 pounds, and I thought, what they're doing,
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy. So we were all caught up in the hype of the next launch, and so people were waiting to build. They were just waiting to build something. And then the crisis happened, and at first you just couldn't get any of the new cards, right? And then it was you couldn't even get the old cards because in NVIDIA's case, they stopped making them before the announcement because they didn't want to. I mean, this is what Chinese media reported. Some of the Chinese manufacturing media reported that NVIDIA actually stopped manufacturing a lot of the 2000 series cards because they didn't want to end up with a glut of 2000 and 3000 series cards at the same time. They felt like that hurt them between the 1000 series and the 2000 series, is that they produced the 1080 Ti for too long. So there was a ramping down of that. Now, of course, they're ramping back up 2060, because they want to sell them to you with 12 gigabytes for a bajillion dollars. But I do really think that the graphics card market is going to come back to normality because the primary driver of this right now is Ethereum mining. And it's actually grown in terms of how much it's impacting the market over time because the popularity of Ethereum mining took off itself as the currency took off. So it started off mostly kind of more of these bigger mining firms getting into it, buying up all the graphics cards. And you saw, Greg Salazar, a bunch of people have done videos where these huge pallets of graphics cards are being sold as a lot for like $72,000, right? They're never hitting retail whatsoever. They're going straight from AIBs or distributors to the to miners, to big mining firms. But then everybody in there
twitched.
Yeah. But then everybody and their brother got into this thing, and it's to the point now where it's like a fever bubble. It's like you see this any kind of gold rush bubble, like whether it be the gold rush in the 1840s or the recent real estate market crash in like 2000 and 2008. Everybody was jumping in all at the end just before the whole thing cratered. Well, the whole thing for GPU mining is about to crater, and that's going to be when Ethereum moves to proof of stake. So right now you can use a graphics card, you can mine Ethereum. Now Bitcoin and other kinds of coins like that, they're different. They're mined with what are called ASICs, application specific integrated circuits. And they're just basically purpose-built machines just to mine Bitcoin. But Ethereum is about 98% of all graphics card mineable coin in terms of its market cap. So it's the Death Star and everything else like Ravencoin and others are just like tiny little pebbles out there.
So before you go on, so what you're saying is the average consumer can pick up a PC and mine Ethereum versus Bitcoin and some other coins where you have to have the specific systems. You have to be like certified. And what you're saying is
don't have to be certified. It's just the device itself is called an ASIC. And it's just this purpose-built little thing. And all it does is mine Bitcoin. So if you wanted to do word processing on it, you're out of luck. If you wanted to play games on it, you're out of luck. So all this thing does is mine Bitcoin. And there are warehouses full of them.
Okay, but then the question is, so you're saying we may see Ethereum change, which would then cut out a lot of people who are doing that?
Yes.
Their process might change?
So what's going to happen? So right now you have a very significant portion of the graphics card market being bought up by Ethereum miners for the last year and a half or however long it's been. And because to them, one of these graphics cards, right, this thing to them, this prints money. This is to you and me, this plays games, this edits videos, but to them, this prints money. And so you and I see this as an expense, especially if it's a game, and we only need one of them, right? We're done. Here you go, whatever. To them, it's a money printer, and the more money printers they have, the more money they are printing. So how much would you pay for a money printer? Would you pay MSRP? Would you pay 50% over MSRP? Would you pay 100%? You'd pay tons of money for money printers, right? That's crazy. So that's the economics behind this, and it's led to this thing that I've called an infinite demand curve, because there is no amount of supply that can support that demand when they can just. And then what they do is they built purpose-driven rigs. They don't just have a rig with a graphics card in it. They have a rig that has a bunch of PCIe risers, and then they have stacks of graphics cards stacked up, and they have big racks and server racks full of them. And if you jump on the Reddit Ethereum mining, the subreddit, and just get in there and look at show and tell, and you can see some of the rigs that they build, and they're still doing it, despite the fact that there you go right there. Yeah, that's what they look like, and it's really nuts.
Oh,
and the
my
thing
Lanta.
And the thing is, as what's continued to drive the shortage is that as the popularity of Ethereum mining increased and people saw it as easy money, a lot of people who aren't even PC people got into it because they're the same reason people get into scalping, right? Nobody starts life off as a scalper. No one starts life off as a GPU miner. People get into it because they want to make money. So these aren't necessarily people who would normally be demanding graphics cards. Now they're demanding hundreds, if not thousands at a time. And that's just completely broken the previous economic model we had to supply graphics cards to gamers and to people who use them for actual productivity purposes. So that needs to be fundamentally corrected in order for the market to ever go back to normal. And when Ethereum goes to proof of stake, that means they're going to transition from being able. They've received a lot of criticism as Bitcoin for contributing to global warming, for instance, for contributing to a massive use of energy, because graphics cards, these graphics cards have gotten, these have gotten more and more, there we go. They've got more and more energy efficient over time, right? This is far more energy efficient than the 5700 XT, which has about the same performance as this card right here. That being said, if you stick 2,000 of these things in a warehouse and you have all the cooling associated with it, it draws a huge amount of energy. That's why China cracked down on this back in June or July of 2021, because they were trying to restart their economy, and all of a sudden, guess who was sucking down all the electricity on their grids? And their grids are not necessarily that robust, and they need the energy for factories to ship goods to the West. They don't really care about these people sitting there stacking up graphics cards to mine. So they're like, they just, in the CCP in China, when they come down on you, they're just like, no, you're done. But what happened is they moved all those operations out of China or to other provinces where they're not really enforcing that. They moved to Kazakhstan and places like that. So and the US.
Tell us, Jason, I don't think a lot of people know, including me, exactly what the heck is proof of stake, Ethereum's proof of stake, and when is this going to happen? What does it mean, for us as wanting graphics cards?
The thing about cryptocurrency, it's kind of like I used to refer to poker. You can learn it in 2 minutes, but it takes a lifetime to master because there's so much depth to it. The same goes for cryptocurrency. So to keep this kind of at the top level, at the easy to understand level, without getting into any rabbit holes, that just means that rather than it being based on graphics cards crunching the numbers, it's going to be based on where everybody's out there competing to do blocks, basically to mine a block. It's going to be, and I'm sure there's going to be miners in the audience who correct my understanding of this. There's basically people are buying in, so you have to stake 32 Ethereum, which at the current price is like what, 100 and something $1,000 off the top of my head. And so you stake that 32 Ethereum, and then that could basically, because you have got that financial money in, then you become basically trusted to crunch these. They can ramp down the difficulty of the mining, and they basically go from a system that uses millions, tens of millions, as I found out, graphics cards to do it, to a handful of kind of more centralized servers and things. And the security is not provided anymore by the vast array of people doing it, so nobody can attack the network. The security is provided by the fact that you had to fork over $120,000 in Ethereum and stake it, and if you screw anything up, that'll get, potentially you can lose that investment. So that's the big change.
Wow.
And when that happens, and they've been working towards this for 4, 5, 6 years, I mean, how many years? So many years, that all the people out there who have bought graphics cards to mine, suddenly they're going to try and mine other currencies, but they're probably going to go negative in terms of their profitability. So they'll actually be losing money because graphics cards draw power. You have to pay for power. And if the graphics card can't make you more money in cryptocurrency mining than it's drawing power, then what the heck are you doing, right? And that's there's also other costs. Obviously, there's other fixed costs involved in building a mining rig. But
do you know when is this going to happen? Is there any estimates when this is going to happen? Because everyone wants to know, okay, when shall I get my wallet out, go to eBay and get one of those mining cards?
It would be so nice if they would finally come out. They were supposed to, we're waiting in February, because that's when they said they thought they were going to be able to establish a date for the actual transition to proof of stake. There is this concept, there's this mechanism that they put in called the difficulty bomb, which means that after a certain block number, you can think about it this way, after a certain date, Ethereum will become exponentially harder to mine until it's just not really mineable anymore. And they put that in there initially to kind of force themselves to move to proof of stake, but they keep kicking the difficulty bomb back. So you can kind of ask, well, what good is the difficulty bomb? Really, the only thing that the difficulty bomb is a marker of anymore is when they think they'll be able to move to proof of stake and transition. So right now that's set to go off sometime in June. It's based on a block number, not a date. So it depends on the speed of the network, but they've done a pretty good job estimating it in the past. So I would expect that to go off sometime early to mid-June. And then it'll take about a month for the difficulty to ramp. So if they haven't figured out how to move to proof of stake by then, and they've come a long way, they're very close, they're going to have to kick back the difficulty bomb. So that's a possibility. It's just like Intel's GPU launches. They said first quarter, but now it looks like it's going to be second quarter. You can think of it the same way. Ethereum proof of stake, they think it's going to be in the second quarter of 2022, but could get kicked back, although I wouldn't expect too long. And when that happens, I did the calculations in one of my recent GPU update. I figured there's like 30 something million graphics cards worth of, I think it was RX 580s worth of hashing power on the network. So imagine tens of millions of graphics cards suddenly being sold off in a huge deluge, because AMD and NVIDIA together delivered, I think it was like 41 million discrete graphics cards in 2021. And that was a huge banner year because they were just cranking these things out, more than 2020. But imagine an almost equal amount of graphics cards, almost a year's worth of graphics cards or 8 months worth of graphics cards, suddenly hitting the market all at once. And that's going to be interesting. We saw this in 2018 when Ethereum cratered and Bitcoin cratered, and a lot of miners sold off. You could buy an RX 580 back then for $65.
I'm getting excited. I can upgrade my rig soon. Woo!
Hey.
Oh my goodness. I was just looking at, speaking of like the power draw of the cost. So I'm looking at this guy posted his electric bill. His electric bill from the year before was up 1,800%. So he had an electric bill of like $120, and then like he posts his bill, it's like $730. So you're right, it's no joke how much it costs just to run these systems.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's the hardware costs that people don't think about. There's the air conditioning cost. There's your cost, your time, having to maintain this stuff. What happens if a graphics card dies all of a sudden? Well, you're not going to ROI that one. So there's probably some breakage and things in there as well.
Dang, yeah, I'm just going to keep making YouTube videos.
I mean, so it looks like there's quite some, hope in the GPU market then. I looked online a little bit as well, and I saw that there could be some other factors in it as well, like governments. Is there anything that the governments can do in order to maybe crunch down on the crypto a little bit so that, the graphics cards, would end up in our hands?
Yeah, I wouldn't count on government intervention. I think the governments right now are interested in looking tough. for their constituencies, especially environmental constituencies. I think China likes to make a big show every 8 to 16 months about banning cryptocurrency and cracking down on it. But I don't really think that they would probably have the most stomach of anybody to go after it.
Well, the reason I'm asking this is because, like, honestly, like, I'm a very, very novice on cryptocurrency. That's why I wanted to, like, get you on board and, teach us.
I'm not a miner, by the way. So, yeah, I'm not a miner. And I should just, full disclosure, I'm not a miner.
I'm not a miner.
I don't have necessarily practical experience, but I hang out with a lot of miners. I have friends who are, and I spend a lot of time researching the subject. So
my great-great-great-grandfather was a miner.
My son is a miner.
There we go. Basically, I'm not sure if you've heard of a channel called Robitech. He's done a lot of So he did a cryptocurrency video that I just watched, and basically what he was saying is that U.S. government and some other governments are realizing that the cryptocurrency, the value of a cryptocurrency, is very much in line of the stock value. So to have a cryptocurrency, something in the economy that can affect the economy so much, is a little bit of a dangerous thing. So they're trying to figure out how they can control that this thing doesn't start to control our economy. I think that's how I understood it. So that's why I think it could be interesting, because at the moment it's
that's interesting.
There's no laws pretty much on cryptocurrency. It's kind of above thing, and I don't know if you have to pay taxes on cryptocurrency and things. I think a lot of countries you don't. Is that right?
Well, if you
the US, now do. A lot of countries are tightening their tax laws because they want that money.
Exactly.
You're making money on it. There's an income tax, and I think they have the view that you're somewhat evading the income tax or going through a loophole. So they're basically tightening up those loopholes, and they're requiring a lot more reporting.
So is that tax on the profits you made when trading cryptocurrency, or is that tax when you sold some of your mined, cryptocurrency, if that makes sense? Because how do they calculate this? Are they going to put their electricity bills in the mix as well? Because obviously they've paid for electricity. How do they calculate how much is used by the electricity on their mining rigs? And then, do you know what I mean? What do you guys think?
So I'm not a tax professional, so don't take any of this as tax advice. And my knowledge of this is only what I read in articles and things. I haven't, for instance, looked at the tax code or anything. But it appears what they're trying to do is they're trying to make the actual currency exchanges, the Bitcoin exchanges, that there needs to be reporting on that side.
Interesting.
So just for instance, when we make YouTube AdSense revenue, YouTube records that, and it sends us a 1099 at the end of the year, and it also sends one to the IRS to let them know that we made this money, so that when we go to report, if you live in the U.S., right, that when we go to file our taxes every year, that was income that we made. I think most countries are looking at some kind of similar reporting mechanism for the exchanges themselves.
Yeah, the amount of evolution in our societal structures, just from a financial standpoint, since the onset of the conception of the internet, is unfathomable. I mean, and since the creator economy started up, and the more of the gig economy of for instance, Ethereum mining is a gig, and there's so much evolution that we've never seen at this rate. The pace is insane. Yeah, they're having to make a lot of decisions really fast.
Yeah, we'll have to see where it goes too. I mean, to Lauri's initial question, are there any governments that might intervene? I think the governments will intervene if it affects major fundamental issues within the economy, or that they see a piece of the pie that they feel like should rightfully be coming to them and you're evading. In terms of will certain governments ban cryptocurrencies? I don't know, because some of them are not that energy efficient. Look at Solana and others that are, they're already on proof of stake. So that already works for them. They are far more energy efficient than Ethereum or Bitcoin right now. And Bitcoin is the one that everybody knows because it was the first cryptocurrency. So it's the one that's implanted in everyone's brain. But I think the ones that might overtake it are like Solana and Ethereum. And Ethereum for us is people who want to buy graphics cards in PC sphere is important because they're buying up all our dang graphics cards, and we want them to stop doing that. That's I always try and remind myself whenever I do a GPU update. Because it's really easy to go down the crypto hole. There's just so many kind of nooks and crannies in there. Like, what does my audience care about? My audience wants to buy a graphics card, and they want to know when they're going to be able to do that, with some level of efficiency towards MSRP. So I usually try as much as I can to stay focused on that. But this gets into a whole other world of crypto finance, of crypto mining. And there's a lot of actually really good YouTube channels that I watch for some of this information.
Well, dude, you've been a wealth of knowledge. Like I've learned so much in the past 25 minutes.
It's like you're giving us a proper lecture of someone who's almost a master of almost like a master's degree on cryptocurrency, and then you're lecturing us on how does this work? Because I've always wondered, like how does it work? But I don't have the time to just go and like learn it all and kind of dig in, and I'm not sure like where to even find that information, dig in some of the things, because you only have like limited time, so you focus on what you're doing. Like on this channel we're doing for creators, focusing on creators, wanting to know like how is this for creators. So like underlying question now here, is there any hope for creators having a graphics card, or someone who's been just like waiting to build their PC for this year 2022? Do you think we're gonna have some graphics card like hope for this year?
Availability.
I think there's already some hope. Yeah, I think there already is some hope. So I just put out a video yesterday, in fact, that budget gaming PC builds are back. And they're back because there has been recently a crash in the value of Ethereum that was unexpected. So I try and stay away from, when Ethereum crashes, we'll all be fine, because Ethereum over its lifespan has just primarily gone up. And so mostly I'm focused on when are they going to move away from GPU mining altogether as the kind of linchpin to release this big flood of graphics cards. But unexpectedly, Ethereum hit a high of about 4,800 in November, and then it's crashed down to, or it crashed all the way to 2,400. Now it's recovered some value. It's like 3,200 as I'm sitting here talking today. But at the same time, the difficulty of mining has increased dramatically. So miners are faced with increasing mining difficulty and lower profits, or the lower value of Ethereum that they're getting from mining. So their profits are way down. Their profits are down by more than 50%. And they've begun selling off some of the least profitable cards. And that's like mostly the 4 gigabyte cards that can't mine Ethereum anymore. So that's like RX 570s, GTX 970, 980, RX 580. Those kind of cards are back on the market. Now they're still above what we would have paid for them 2 years ago, well above what we would have. But they're in the range now, especially with Intel introducing the i3 12100, which is basically a 10400 that's better at gaming, or I should say 11400 that's better at gaming, because it's so powerful. It's a huge generational leap that you can put together a system right now for about $700, $690 is what I came up with an RX 580 and i5 11400, and that will play games at really good frame rates at 1080p. So if you're looking in the budget segment, I think we've already begun to see that relief because miners are selling off those less profitable cards. Now, when is that going to hit the upper echelons of the market? Probably not until the actual merge happens. And that's because, the most power efficient cards, or the most efficient mining cards, tend to be the newest ones. And so they're going to hold on to those for quite a while. So AMD and NVIDIA are going to continue to squeeze money out of your wallet probably until about the middle of the year. And we'll see with Intel. I mean, gosh, Intel, I know they wanted to launch their cards last year. And here we are. Now they're talking about launching them halfway through this year. So we'll see. I just expect that we're going to see a much better GPU market for folks beginning sometime in the middle of this year. And we're already seeing that right now because there is a reduced demand from Ethereum miners for graphics cards, because some of them are beginning to see, some of them are going to, like lemmings, they're going to go right off the cliff, right? That happens in every gold rush. The people who get in at the end go right off the cliff. But some of the smarter miners now are stopping. They're not buying more graphics card. So that's already reducing some demand. That's why you see like the 6600 generally now available on like Newegg and Amazon for about $450, whereas before it was like $560 models, and anything below that would sell out instantaneously because miners were buying them all. Now they're just sitting there.
Yeah, because I think like for creators, sorry, the NVIDIA cards are much better for creators than AMD cards. It's just like insane. For example, if you look at video editing performance, then the 6900 XT, which is the top of the line AMD card, is roughly the same as 3070 from NVIDIA cards. Like they perform equal, but the price difference, MSRP price difference, is massively different. And is this the same with mining? Is it better to mine with NVIDIA cards than AMD cards? Because I've seen a lot more AMD cards in stock than NVIDIA cards in stock. For example, like Newegg during the Black Friday deals, there was a lot of AMD cards even on a deal. Like the 6900 XT, I think few Azure cards were there. So I'm just wondering, like, do you know anything about that?
Yeah, so the NVIDIA cards are generally preferred for mining. Generally, depends on what you're mining. The Vega cards, the AMD Vega cards, which are older now, those were really good mining cards. The 5700 XT is probably one of the best mining cards. That's why you don't see any even used. And if you do see it used, it's for like $1,000. Like, why is somebody selling a 2.5-year-old 5700 XT for $1,000 when I can go buy a 6600 XT with basically the same gaming performance, right, for $460, and I can buy that brand new? It's because of the 5700 XT was just amazing at mining. So was the 5600 XT. So I think that we're eventually going to see those NVIDIA cards come back in stock. But NVIDIA is also interested in squeezing every last nickel out of you. So yes, on the one hand, 3070 might give equal performance to a 6900 XT. The difference is you can get the 6900 XT in stock new. The 3070, some parts of the world you can buy them from retailers, but at least in the US, you're going to go to eBay, or you're going to win one off if you don't win one off Newegg Shuffle, you're going to go to eBay and you're going to pay just as much almost for that 3070, and you're going to buy it off somebody. Maybe you'll get a warranty. They'll send you the receipt and you'll be able to get the warranty. Maybe you won't. Maybe they've done something to that card. Maybe they haven't. You get all the different typical challenges of buying from the secondary market.
So any tips on people buying the GPUs? Yeah,
if you're at the lower budget levels right now and you're looking to put a PC together for about $1,000, like I said, I just put out a video on how to build a budget gaming PC. The secondary market is really your friend right now. RX 570s, 580s, GTX 970s, 980s, even the 1070 for $330 is actually a pretty good deal. And the RX 6600 XT, those are your friends right now. If you're looking to do something, you wanted to game at 4K or super high frame rates at 1440p, so you're looking towards the high mid to the high end of the stack, then you're kind of stuck right now. AMD's probably your best bet in terms of price to performance for gaming. The rasterization performance, if you just ignore like DLSS and ray tracing, yeah, AMD's graphics cards just will beat the pants off the same priced NVIDIA cards, because the same priced NVIDIA cards are like 3 tiers lower on the rung, right? So that's what I would look for if you have to get a graphics card now. But if you can't afford it, but you want the 4K kind of gaming experience, then you probably are going to have to wait until the middle part of this year.
Okay, so let's say someone, obviously on our channels, there's a lot of creators watching this, and they are after NVIDIA graphics cards. Any tips on how you can get one now? Like what you would be doing? Because I know you recently broke a PC, and then you needed, obviously you were lucky because I think you got it from Newegg Shuffle. But if you didn't got one there and you need, a graphics card now, where would you be looking, and how much would you be paying for something like that?
First of all, I would buy an AMD card and just make do for however long it took. If you're a creator and it's costing you money, alternatively, if you're a creator and it's costing you money to not have the graphics card, just buckle down and pay whatever from a third-party seller on eBay and get it, because this is your business, right? It's a piece of business equipment. We're not talking about a leisure activity anymore where you can put that off. You got to make money. But if you are trying to get something closer to MSRP or a better price for it, then I would play Newegg Shuffle. And I have one, if I turn around, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different GPUs, 6 different GPUs off of Newegg Shuffle over the last year. And I just play it every day. And people think that, Asus or Gigabyte are sending me graphics cards. Nobody's sending me graphics cards when I do these videos.
Unless
I'm buying
you're
them.
Linus. Unless you're Linus, you get sent GPUs
right.
these days. No one gets sent these GPUs.
So if you want to get a graphics card, like a new NVIDIA graphics card, Newegg Shuffle every single day. And I know Newegg is like, it's like Gamers Nexus is like got the laser beam focused on them right now. And I've never personally, it's really disturbing to hear all these folks are having a bad time with Newegg. My personal experience is nothing but good stuff with Newegg, so it's a little dissonant. That being said, I've only had they even let me send back one of those exploding Gigabyte power supplies when I won it with the Gigabyte 3070. They let me send it back, even though they just implemented their policy of not letting you send it back. They gave me an exception for it, so they've been very good to me. Now my account just says Jason, is not PC Builder. They don't know me from YouTube or anything. So I've had good experiences with them, and I've had good experiences with Newegg Shuffle. Obviously, as Gamers Nexus is exposing, that's not been the case for a lot of folks out there, and Newegg probably needs to do a lot to clean up its act and kind of make it right with consumers again. But if I was a creator out there looking to buy an RTX card, just Newegg Shuffle every single day. I used to set an alarm on my phone every day at 11:05 a.m. Eastern time and get on there, and I just register for everything that I would reasonably want to buy. And just go with it.
I didn't realize Newegg Shuffle, like I didn't even know what that was till this conversation. It's funny when when you're in the laptop space, you just buy whatever you want. Basically, I can get anything I want right now.
What is that like?
Internet
Tell us what the promised land looks like.
Something, like I use like these float in the studio. This is a Ryzen 9 5900HX with a 3070.
Wow.
Get this for $2,000. Done.
Wow.
So it's just crazy the difference in niches, so to speak. In what you guys are experiencing. It's eye-opening to me.
I mean, even here now, it's very interesting to see Jason speak, because you probably you are coming much more from gamers background and what gamers would want and what would think, because in my channel, you've never seen me recommend AMD graphics cards, so to hear this from Jason, that's very, very new to me, and just to add on top of this conversation, I think what's also adding to this mix is the Intel GPUs. Once they hit the market, I think they will also contribute more GPUs being in the market. And it all means just more choice for everyone, whatever you're going to do with it, mine, or I don't know if they can mine yet or not mine yet. But for creators, the Intel GPUs are going to be very, very exciting, just to tell you off straight away, because they've already said in their CES keynote that they have encoders in there as well. And knowing Intel's QuickSync, how this is going to work with creative applications, and now with the dedicated graphics card and the iGPU, they can utilize them both at the same time. That they can render different parts.
They interleave it. They basically interleave it. They trade off. And it's just I did a video on the CS announcement, and as somebody who is both a gamer but also spends time rendering video, that was very exciting for me too. So
I'd really.
I just think if they can get in line with the power consumption limitations that Apple has put on their products, and if they can nail the marriage of battery life with CPU and GPU, they will crush AMD once again, and they will be coming after Apple in a hurry. The question is, we can get performance, but will we get efficiency?
Well, so a lot of people, just to talk about Apple, Apple was the first to 6 nanometer. So I know everyone's like, oh, Apple is so much better now than the Ryzen.
Was it 5 nanometer
7 nanometer
or 6 nanometer?
When you see the huge efficiencies that they're able to squeeze out of the M1 and the M1 Pro, they have, it's almost like comparing Ryzen 5000 to 11th gen Intel rather than 12th gen Intel, right? Mm-hmm. So everybody else is coming out with that now too. So it'll be really interesting. Now, that being said, I got to give, I don't mean to be an Apple hater. I got to give props to Apple, because they went from having everything manufactured by Intel at their fabs to producing a really impressive piece of silicon, despite the advantage that obviously their money and their size was able to buy them with a partner like TSMC, where they can just buy whatever node that they want. they put out a really impressive piece of silicon, and it's very, very interesting to see that whole thing evolve as well.
So like the Intel GPUs at the moment, they're very good with their encoders. Like I'm seeing as good, if not better than the NVIDIA encoders. And then AMD is like jogging somewhere in the background there with theirs. So if they have the graphics calculating and graphics processing power in their GPUs, dedicated GPUs, that's going to be very exciting. Even if it's like a 3070, 3080 level, if it's priced well, like creators are going to be excited. I'm definitely excited.
Yeah, the ones who's in the most trouble right now, I actually think is NVIDIA long term. They weren't able to buy ARM. They're the only one who doesn't make both if you look at Apple, AMD, and Intel, they all make CPUs, and they make graphics engines, right? And NVIDIA is the only one who just makes graphics cards. So on the mobile market, and I'm not I follow folks like Moore's Law is Dead, who, Tom's done a lot of reporting on this kind of stuff, that NVIDIA is in danger of getting squeezed out of mobile. Because AMD will simply start packaging their CPUs and GPUs at a lower rate. Apple is going to do Apple, and then Intel can do the same. And NVIDIA really needed to buy ARM because they needed some kind of CPU architecture, right, in the future. I don't know what they're gonna do now, but I think that they're in the biggest challenge of everybody right now.
That's very interesting.
Dang, that's crazy. Also, with the crash of, not the crash of Ethereum, but the switch of Ethereum, their market will substantially decrease. The demand.
Yeah,
and it's not clear that they can maintain the performance lead over AMD because NVIDIA's approach has been kind of like what Intel was doing with 10th and 11th gen, just jamming more power into their existing into a similar architecture. Though I hear the next one that's coming up may fix some of this. While at the same time, AMD with the various Navi generations has been able to dramatically get more performance per watt, and they are this is part of what's behind, I guess, the RTX 3090 Ti not coming out yet. NVIDIA said, stay tuned at the end of January. We're going to have a special announcement about this. Well, it's February whatever now, and there's been no special announcement. And it's clear that they're having problems with that 3090 Ti. There's only so much power you can cram into these things, right? Before, you really start exceeding some thresholds. So we'll see. And at the same time, the 59X or whatever it's called of the refresh of the 6000 series is coming, and the 6950 XT will probably take the performance crown from the 3090.
Awesome. And then there we go.
There's your thumbnail.